So here we have our Cuisinart DGB 900 coffee pot. Now this is a coffee pot that comes with a bean grind feature, which is really nice. So up here we can see that we have the bean hopper itself. It has a nice little cover plate, and when we look at it, there is a lock and unlock button. So if we want to unlock it, that's what actually removes the bean grinder. You kind of have to push. So you can definitely feel when it's going to lock into place or not. But you can remove this entire piece. And that comes off, and we can see that we do have our bean hopper. We have our bean chute. So this is what actually opens it. Obviously the beans go in, they get ground up, and they get dropped into the rest of the coffee maker. Okay, so again, we can feel this locking into place. You have to sort of press down in order to get it in there. The lid just goes kind of right on top. And then on the front panel, we have our different buttons. So obviously we have our power button, which will start the grind or the brew. Grind off. So if you don't want to use beans, you don't have to. You just hit that grind off button, and then you can use normal grounds. And we have our grind control. So this grind control is actually just for the beans and not for the water. It determines how many cups that this coffee maker is going to grind at one time, anywhere from 2 to 12. We also have our strength control button, which goes from light, medium, and strong. And we have our program button. So we can use this program button along with these hour and minute buttons to actually start an automatic grind on this. If you want to start a grind at 6 o'clock in the morning, just program your time and then let it start on its own. So on the side, we have a button that releases, and this is where your coffee filter basket is. All right, so now when this is grinding, this gear actually will move around, and it helps with your grind. So you want to make sure that this is in place. And underneath that, we do have our permanent coffee filter basket. You can use paper filters, but you don't want to use both. Don't put a paper filter in this. Either use this or just a paper filter. The rest of the basket does come out so that you can clean it. It is dishwasher safe, so that's all fine. Go ahead and put this back together real quick. Okay. And that just closes and snaps right into place. Now on the right hand side, you have your water gauge. Right? This is to tell you how much water you have in here to determine how much you're going to make. Now again, it's going to make, if you fill this with water, if you fill it the whole way to 12 with water, it's going to make 12 cups of coffee. Even if you set the grind to 6 and you put 12 cups of water in here, it's going to make 12 cups of coffee. Now the carafe itself, it's really heavy. It's durable. It's a double insulated stainless steel carafe, and with this pretty cool lid actually. And so we can see inside. Now one thing you're going to notice is there are no measurement lines. You're not going to be able to measure your coffee or how much water you're going to put in your coffee maker using this carafe. This is, again, it is a double insulated, so this is not a heating plate. This is not a burner plate. Once this is done brewing the coffee, it's going to shut off, and that's it. This isn't a burner plate that's going to keep your coffee warm. That's what the double insulated carafe is for. So I just opened this bag of beans, and I gotta admit, they smell delicious. As you can tell, they are whole beans. They're ready to be ground. So we're gonna go ahead and get this started. Just dump these in here. I'm gonna brew strong coffee. I've got 4 cups and the water already poured. So let's go ahead and get her started. So you can see that it did grind some beans up, and you could hear the click of that internal gear shifting. And so now it's actually going to start heating the water and brewing it. One other thing I did forget to mention is there is a charcoal filter inside the water compartment. So the water compartment's back here. And there is a charcoal filter in here. They do recommend changing it every couple months. You can see obviously we're filtering out the water, and it just kind of slides in the back there. And so now it's actually brewing the coffee. We may be able to see some coming out here in a second. There it goes. So that is a nozzle that will lit once you pull the coffee pot out, the carafe out. It will actually stop the flow. Obviously you don't want to leave it out for too long because it will overflow the rest of the coffee pot though. We're going to go ahead and pour a cup of this. Okay, so a few things that I didn't mention yet that I kind of escaped me were, for one, even though there is a grind control to set how many cups of coffee you want to grind, this grind control only applies to how many beans are being ground. It does not apply to how much water is being used. So if you set this to 4 cups of, or 4 on grind control, it's going to grind enough beans for 4 cups of coffee. And if you fill it the whole way to 12 cups, it's going to use all that water. So that is one thing that I'm not overly enthused about. But ultimately, the other 2 reasons the biggest reason I quit using it is because I did want to hook up a water line from my refrigerator to my coffee pot and say automatically brew me 4 cups of coffee in the morning. But if it's brewing all of the water that's in the coffee filter, there's no real way to do that because the water line is just going to refill the coffee pot to the max amount. So the other thing that I don't like is, if you noticed, for me, it doesn't seem to pour well. I don't think other people have quite so many issues, but for me, this carafe just doesn't seem to pour very well. And finally, it is kind of annoying that, unlike the Mr. Coffee pot that has a glass pot with lines for how many cups, this does not have that feature. Since it is a stainless steel carafe, since it is double insulated, you don't have those lines, the water lines, to use and to refill your coffee pot. So for me, those 3 things, they're kind of minor overall, but ultimately that's why I quit making it. Otherwise, it's a really good coffee maker. It does require a little bit more maintenance, but it does also have the bean grinder built right in. It's a grind and brew. It does it all in one step. You get really fresh, really delicious coffee out of it. So for me, it just wasn't a great fit, but I'm not going to deny that this is a great coffee pot.